was the fan. Okay. Oh no, are you gonna get toasty though?
No, it's fine.
Don't want you to get too toasty.
No, it's all good.
All right, cool. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Face the Truth. I'm really excited to talk with my friend Michael here. Been a big fan of his work for many years. Really love his passion for drawing. The guy loves to draw, and you can see that in all his work, and it's just awesome. And overall, really good dude, does awesome work. So without further ado, please welcome Michael Byers.
How's it going?
How's it going, man? Thanks for joining me for this, man.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good to see you, man. It's been a while.
It's been a minute, for sure.
Yeah.
I think the last time we saw each other in person actually was one of the AI parties.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Way back.
That was like, I think I've only been to one of those. So it must have been
so
like
that was the one.
Like 14 or 15 or something. Something like that.
Yeah, even earlier than that, I would say, maybe.
Maybe. Yeah,
anyways.
That was weird. That was a weird event.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's like there's so many people crammed into that spot, and I didn't know what it was going to be. Like I thought, oh, I'm used to like Society of Illustrators or something where you go around and you look at the art, but this was just like a party,
Yeah, fun, open bar, go nuts.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was really cool.
Yeah.
So man, it's so cool. I was looking through your website again last week and just looking through some things, reminding myself of some of your stuff. And I was wondering right from the bat here, I want to are you still drawing most of your illustration work traditionally and then coloring digitally, or do you do it all digital?
All digital now, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I remember I got a Cintiq and it was like, what was I thinking? It's like a game changer for me.
Yeah.
I held off for so long because I think I was just afraid to try it. I was just afraid to I don't know if it's the technology. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to deal with it and then as soon as I did it, I was like, what was I thinking I was using a mouse to color with and do all that stuff.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
Yeah, for I don't know how many, a good 6 years probably doing that. It worked, I guess, but
that's funny. Is that in a way how you developed your color style and technique? Because you use a lot of large blocks of color, and you're pretty crazy creative with what colors you're using. Pretty unorthodox, as I must say.
Well, to tell you the truth, I steal a lot of color palettes.
Oh yeah.
So I kind of start off by just legit I find color palettes I really like, and then I kind of just I drop and try and get I've always tried to limit the colors I'm using, but then it just spreads out. I end up going into a bunch more, and then the secret is for me, I just as soon as I'm done everything, I always find everything seems, even though it's not, but it seems too muted for me. So then I put a filter over top of everything, and then I fiddle with that. So then I just really tweak it that way, and then that's where I usually get my final color that everybody sees when it's done. But it's funny that that's not what I start with, is those colors. It's I start with whatever colors, and then I add maybe a red filter on top and put color burn and see what it does and fiddle with that kind of thing, just to really make everything either super saturated or just kind of just wonky that you wouldn't really normally see.
Yeah, that's cool. You're basically just giving yourself the opportunity to explore and see what other options there are besides what you just spent time on. That's pretty cool.
It's taken me a long time to get to a point where I'm just comfortable with what I do, being me, instead of just trying to for years I just tried to be everybody else, or I just I felt like that's what I was doing. I would just see the people I liked or influenced by, and I'm I just want to do that. That's all I want to do. Is it's what's funny, I had this thought. It was I'd look at, and I'm sure you felt this way, I think every illustrator, every artist has felt this way, where they see someone do something amazing, I don't want to name drop anybody, but someone like does something awesome and you're like, oh, I wish I did that. Like,
Yeah.
I wish I did that job or that piece or whatever. And then I realized, like, I finally just realized, it took me a long time, but like, I realized, wait a minute, no, I wouldn't. Like, I wouldn't want to do that particular job, or, you know, I wouldn't want to do that exact thing. It's not my thing. Like, that style isn't my cup of tea. I think I just appreciated how awesome it was.
Yeah.
And I finally got comfortable with, like, this is what I do, and this is how I draw people, or this is how I draw things, and it's ever evolving as far as I'm concerned, because I'm always trying to get better at drawing. Mm-hmm. That's been my whole goal, my whole life or career in life, is just to get better at drawing.
Yeah.
Or as good as I can, you know. So
it's evident in your work. Your work is very, like, well, first of all, I want to address what you just said too. Is that I also feel that way sometimes when I see, you know, I get very competitive in a sense where when I see like someone did a time cover or did something where I'm like, but I'm more like, oh man, I wish they would have called me for that job.
Yeah.
I it's not that I wish I would have done it how they did it, but I'm more like, I would have done it differently, and I wish I could have had the opportunity to do that one. You know what I mean? Because and sometimes like someone will get a cover, like I'll get one, and it'll be like way too many people in it or something, or something's like crazy, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm really excited to be doing this, but this is really stressful and a lot of work. And then all of a sudden, the next cover that comes out, it's like a white background with one character, and it's so simple. I'm like, God damn it! Like, what the heck, you know? So I've definitely had that, but
it's funny though, because I don't think that way. It's weird. I probably should have thought that way though. I probably should have thought like, oh, I wish I had that job. I was just like, I wish I did that image. I wish I was the one that did that.
I mean, it makes. I mean,
but that's a good way to think about it.
I feel that way. I really love James Jean's work a lot. I mean, that guy can do like everything. And almost every time I see something, like when he does those crazy like collage type images with just these, it's like no one can do it like him. It's like this style with like the flowers and all that.
Yeah.
I don't wish I did those pieces. I don't even understand those pieces. Like I'm just like in awe of them. But then there's certain like oil things he does, or just like these really cool images with watercolor and just like layering things, and like I'm like, oh, it just makes me want to try to do that. Like it's so just so awesome.
I feel like I'm like that, but with like all over the board. Like it's like with so many different styles. Like I'll see someone that's like Jillian Tabaki with what she's been doing lately with her like more sketchy childlike looking images. I'm just like I'm so mad at her all the time when I see her work, because I'm like, she's just like, she can do anything, and it's just like, I mean, I love her pieces, like I love her work, and I admire her greatly because she's just so good at storytelling and just everything, and I admire that. But then I'll like I agree with you with James Jean. Like I look at that, or like who's the other person? There's a few painters I've been following lately, or like these artists this guy that does this murals named Arto or something. It's from Europe, and he just did this giant mural on the side of the wall, and I'm like, it's just when people make it look so easy, which is maybe, I don't know, maybe I should just give myself credit, maybe I do that too, but it's like
well, there's so much inspiration right now with, I mean, like my mind gets blown all the time on Instagram with, I mean, every single day there's like another artist that I found that I'm like, damn, this person's amazing. It just makes me feel like a terrible artist, you know, like, man, like what's going on? But the one thing I really love about, like, since the first time I started seeing your work, is you've always been someone who's very much into your sketchbooks, and you do a lot of sketchbook drawings. And one of the things I love about your sketchbooks is that you've got like this, and this is what I wanted to know about where your style comes from, because you've got like this real like linear, sometimes it almost looks like one just big line that does the whole thing. And I know it's not just that, but you've got such nice direct like line. It's like very confident in your own. It looks confident anyways, that you're just like, I'm just gonna put this there. and just put this here.
You're
And
good at faking it.
well, see, the thing is like,
I'm joking.
I've tried doing, I've done sketches like that, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I have to change my way of thinking. And I usually use like a ballpoint pen or something, and I'll just just try to be linear with it, or just I don't even know if that's the right wording, but just kind of go with the flow and just kind of let my hand move, and just because a lot of times when I sketch, it's a lot of really light sketching first, where I block it out, and then I go over on top of it again, so you can see like layers of sketch lines and cross hatching, and so it's a lot more. My sketches sometimes are a lot more full or like beefy, you know.
Yeah. No,
which is not like a bad thing. It's just
not at all.
I just think your sketches are sexy. I like them. And so I'm like, when I see them, I'm like, oh man, this is cool. Like they almost look like they could be animated too. Like there's like something about the way that you do it. So, but where did that come about? That technique or that approach?
Well, I mean, the smartass answer is from art school. I was just like, I just had I didn't care attitude, because I went to art school later in life, like not later in life, but I was like 25. I was at a high school for like 6 years before I went back to school. And so I was just very much just wanted to learn and just wanted to absorb everything I could. And I remember we had an object drawing class. It was just what it sounded like. Like it was a whole class dedicated to just drawing objects. And we did a lot of like 3D renderings and stuff, and you would have to do perspective. So we had like where we had to draw, it was a still life, and the still life was those old school plastic pop bottle carriers where you put the pop bottles in. So we had to draw one of those with the proper ellipses and all that stuff, but without using any tools, just freehand. So you had to get good at that. And so one of the assignments was they put a big burlap mail bag full on a stand, and you had to draw that and try and get all like the shadows and the nooks and crannies and just make it look beautiful, right? And I would be amazed at how I got a C on mine, because I was just like I was like, it's done, I don't care. And I was amazed to see people that would spend like 20 hours that some people said they spent on it, like just really just spending so much time. And I'm like, it's just a fucking mailbag, man. Like it's just, and because I guess my thought was like, I just rushed some drawings and stuff, and I just think it just became loose like that because I just didn't. I don't want to say I didn't care, but it was just I didn't want to put the effort into fiddling with it. I just wanted to go on and move on to the next thing, I guess, and then it just came from there. And I remember I had a professor that said, I tell this to everybody, even students, if I ever whenever I get to talk to students. And I've done a couple of sketchbook workshops, and I had he was a painting teacher actually, and it's funny enough, he does abstract paintings, but he when he was in school and stuff to getting his master's, he did figurative paintings, almost like Lucian Freud, beautiful stuff. And I remember we were going to summer, and I said, what should I do? What do you recommend I do for painting and stuff? And he said, just paint. He said, you're going to have 100 bad paintings before you ever get a good one. Just throw those away and keep whatever ones you like, but just keep painting, just keep drawing or whatever. And I took that as like, oh my God, that gave me permission to make shitty artwork. And because I used to open a sketchbook and it would get a blank page and you're like, oh my God, I got to make something beautiful. And it just gave me permission that you could have a whole sketchbook of just squiggles if you wanted.
Yeah, it gets rid of that stress.
Yeah, exactly.
When you get a new sketchbook and you just want it to be the most perfect thing,
Yeah, you want it to be a James Jean sketchbook. Like not everyone can do that. It's not every page can be perfect. So it was amazing. That freed up stuff. So then it just made me more, I guess, motivated to want to do that and sketch like that. And I just kind of I don't know how it came about. I just kind of, partly too in drawing class when everybody's doing Conte and stuff. As soon as our teacher suggested the same painting teacher, he was actually my drawing teacher. He said, why don't you try pen and ink? So I was done. I didn't look back. I just used pen and ink for every single drawing class. And I liked that it forced you to commit. It forced you to commit to a line. Otherwise, I mean, you can get sketchy if you want, but it just looks like crazy. So it forced you to do that, and you had no choice. And I would just get sloppy, and I'd have like, just marks like just dripping down. And you'd always look at the end of class. I'd always be the one with a little puddle of ink on the floor from just being sloppy and not caring. That's awesome. I loved it. So then I had a lot of energy. You get more energy that way, and like you said, it forces you to. It just forced me to try and commit, and then it's like you have to learn how to draw, or else. But I mean, to your point with what you were saying, how you sketch, I mean, what I love about that kind of stuff, though, in your sketches is like, you really see how you worked it. Like, you really get a feel for how you moved around, and you weren't just like, I don't know, like it shows you were thinking about it, not just like, it's different than just your traditional, like, sketch, like the line. Like yours is like, okay, we're working this out. That's different than just like, people are just getting this line down like this and like this, and like, okay, well, just draw that line. Just draw it. Just don't.
Well, it's funny because like similar to how you sketch, I do that sometimes when I'm trying to kind of challenge myself to just put down what you try to get as accurate as you can just by drawing it without doing all the sketchy stuff. Just keep it flowing, and sometimes it turns out really cool, and other times it's like, oh, that didn't work out right.
Yeah.
But you also get some cool, happy mistakes. Like I like that this one arm is a little bit longer, and this does this thing. There's a little bit like more life to it, or you know what I mean. So there's a benefit to that as well. I think it's kind of cool.
For sure. Yeah, because then you have like. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just gonna. No, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, those happy mistakes are great, because then you, like you said, you figure out. The only problem with it is when you don't remember how you did it. And then you're like, oh man, I love that, but what was I just doing? And then you try and replicate it. But I mean, I have sketchbook pages full of like, cringeworthy, like, oh, that's terrible. Oh my god, what was I thinking? Oh, that's just no, thank you. But
I mean, I think everybody does. I mean, it's funny. But I love it too, because I like looking back at a sketchbook that you haven't looked at for years, and like I have one where when I was in Ireland, and I just was whenever I went to a little pub and they were playing like live music, I just start doodling, and a lot of them are kind of cartoony, some of them caricature, some of them sort of real, but it's weird when I look at them, because it's like it brings me right back. Like I remember like the lighting and the smell, and it's pretty cool. It's like, oh man,
Do you find that hard with your work, trying to like? Do you have a harder time trying to make it look really real, like, or do you always try and put a little bit of caricature in it, even if it's supposed to be like? If they ever say like, well, we need to look a little realistic, like when you did the Pope. Was that like, because you're not going to make him like goofy guts like some of your stuff, like.
Yeah. Well, it depends. It depends, because, I mean, if it's a portrait type piece, then I don't really do any caricaturing. If it's a lighthearted piece, maybe I'll accentuate something slightly, kind of like how Rockwell would do that a little bit.
Yeah.
But if it's like more of like a realistic portrait, I try to keep it pretty real proportions and stuff. But with the Pope, that was a crazy one, because the Pope has a very prominent underbite. When he smiles, his bottom lip his upper lip kind of comes in, and kind of one of these. And they wanted, so the reference that they sent me of him that they liked of his face was completely different than the reference they liked of his pose. So I had to kind of combine those things together. But then the reference they liked of his face, they didn't like the way his smile looked. And actually he wasn't really smiling very big, but they didn't like that his mouth was open. They didn't like the way they were like, that just looks a little weird. It's because of the way his lip was and stuff.
Yeah.
And so they sent me some side views of him where he's smiling with his mouth closed, and they're like, can you make it look like that from the front? So it was a little bit challenging, because I had to I had side views, which sort of helped, but I still don't know exactly So I kind of had to make up the mouth a little bit in that one.
Wow.
And so I think even though it's supposed to be like more realistic, it does have a slight caricature feeling to it because I had to kind of make it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So I tried to make it as real as I could, but I mean, most people I don't think really notice. It's pretty subtle. The main thing was I had to like pull his, because like when people smile with their mouth open, it's different proportions than if they smile with their mouth closed.
Yeah. Right.
Distance between the nose changes, the length of the chin changes. So you kind of have to just know a little bit about that and then fake it.
Yeah, fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's what I love about your work is that you because I'm not a big fan of realism when people try too hard to make it realistic looking.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, just take a photograph.
Yeah.
Especially like still life, because at that point I feel like you're just trying to show that you have skills with a paintbrush or whatever. Like how to, that to me doesn't say much. But like, I have a friend who, and this is what I sort of like about your work too, is I have a friend who, he goes for realism, like that's what he loves in the detail and whatever. But he does it in such a way that it's so bizarre, but it's such a way that it's slightly not realistic. Enough, and he tells a story with his images too, so it almost like that's what makes it much more enjoyable and exciting to look at. And same with yours, dude. There's just maybe something about it. Maybe it's just the way you paint, but it's something that to me it's like just enough that it's not too much.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously with the caricatures it's different. That's like completely but the more realistic stuff is just slightly, ever so slightly, or the way your compositions that just makes it much more enjoyable to look at.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thanks, man. That's the hard thing about it, though, because I have done a lot of paintings where I myself, while I'm doing it, feel like, why don't they just use a photo? Or because it's like they basically just want me to paint from a photo and almost exactly like that's what they want. And so I can't, it's frustrating for me because one thing I try to do when I paint realistic portraits is because once you like measure out the face and everything else, you're pretty much just measuring and then trying to draw the anatomy correct. With caricature, you're understanding what you see and you take it to another place, and you can take it really far if you want, and you can use several different references. You can make a person do almost anything that you want, and people aren't going to know where you got the reference sometimes. But when it's a certain photo of somebody, it's like you can get 10 different portrait artists to paint the same thing, and there might be what's going to separate them at that point is the aesthetics of how they use color or how they use their brush work. Yeah. So I try to be as painterly and expressive as I can get away with, and perhaps loose sketch lines and different things. Some magazines and publications are okay with that. Some are like, can you tighten that up like a lot more? And by the end, it just looks like a photo.
Right.
And then there's other jobs I've done where I'm actually very proud of what I did because I was given such bad reference that, but they wanted to be super realistic looking. And the reason they hired me is because they need a very high quality, realistic image of this person, and there's none that exist. Right. So in those instances, I do everything I can to try to make it as real as possible. And then I get comments like, why didn't they just use a photograph? I'm like, dude, you should have seen the photo, man. Like I feel like I just pulled off a Sistine Chapel on this person's face just now. So it varies, but yeah, it's different, with every, like your style is like one thing when I see your work, my little daughter up there making weird noise. Sorry about that. But like when I look at your work, I get like a sense of freedom because like you have a style that almost seems like it can allow you to do so much with it, whereas with what I do with like the realistic portrait type stuff, I have to get people to pose for me. I have to get people to wear clothing very similar to what I need, the lighting. all these different things because I need to, make it feel a certain sense of reality. Same with caricature stuff. I tend to pose a lot, but I can get away with more because you're kind of in that playful world. But with your style, it almost seems like, if you can think of it and draw it, you can do whatever. It doesn't have to. You don't have to like hold to this, because you do a lot of crazy awesome things with perspective and like stretching the form and like different things where I don't, if I did something like that, for example, with like a realistic portrait type job I get, it would look weird. People would be like, what is he doing?
Of course. Yeah, that's true.
So you got like a certain sense of freedom, and I see that. I see some of your stuff, and I get sort of like jealous of the style, because I'm like, there's a lot of times where I kick myself, like, why did I settle for? Sometimes I think it's a little bit it's overthinking too much. Where I'd like to just loosen up and just let the pencil go and just have fun,
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like sometimes I think realistic portrait type work feels very uptight.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to be that way.
I could imagine. I mean, I've had to do. I don't get portraits a lot because I've always I'm trying not to make this a narrative for myself, but I've always kind of told people that I'm not that great at likenesses. So I don't, it's not that I don't want to get those jobs. It's just, and maybe I'd get better if I just did more of them. But but I just know that I feel that sometimes when I've had to do portraits, or I find it tense up because it's like I know it has to look like a certain thing. Yeah. But then it's if it's something else entirely made up, I just I think what I go for, and I've always gone for, is I've never gone for accuracy or even like anatomy or anything like that. It's the feel. Like, I know if you ever, most of my stuff, especially perspective, like if you ever took a actual rulers and perspective grid, it'd be way off. Like it's not. It's
but what I
danger.
love about it is there's like an energy to it.
Yeah.
There's like a movement that's happening.
Yeah, I think it's because I just try to make it as organic as possible. Because I think part of the thing for me, and maybe I'm wrong by this, but and I know in your situation it's probably tricky, and probably very tricky. But I've not recently. It's been a little while now, but I remember I used to use a lot of photo reference, like a lot of people, especially when they come out of art school and stuff. And then I ran into, or I stumbled upon that guy, Kim Jung-gi. I think that's what they say, Kim Jung-gi.
Yeah.
And I bought 2 of his sketchbook compilations, and I received them in the mail, and they're like, one's 600 pages, one's 1,000 pages. And that's like, so they're like, usually, I guess he puts them out like every 3 years or every 4 years or something. So it's 4 years worth of his sketchbook stuff.
Wow.
So this is what I say to people about him. So he's obviously, if anybody's seen him or knows him that are watching this or whatever, he's amazing. Don't get me wrong. He's like, there's something definitely phenomenal about that man. But it's the only way I could describe it is that when I saw his sketchbooks, it was almost like pulling back the curtain. I was like, oh, I get it now. It's like the reason why he can do all those drawings. He can sit there and draw you a person sitting in a car and draw the engine and the details and all this, because he's drawn 1,000 of those, like millions of those. Like he draws all the time, and he literally draws all the time, and he draws those things all the time. So it's like intense, man. It's like people, comic book artists. They could probably draw Batman sitting on the toilet reading a newspaper easily, no problem, without looking at any reference, right? Because they draw him all the time. But like,
it's amazing though.
Yeah,
like that stuff blows my mind.
So for me, the key was like, I feel like the more you draw, the more you get better at it, and the more like he always talks about is building a visual vocabulary in your head. Mm-hmm. So that my goal is that so that I know how to draw things in such a way that I don't ever have to use reference, because A, I find it's faster for obviously, so I don't have to keep searching for it or whatever, and then B, it's just I find it gets really stiff when I use reference. When I'm not using reference, that's when it gets organic, because it's like, I'm just making it up. Here we go.
Yeah.
But it's funny you say about the exaggeration and stuff, because I found I get envious of people that have that style that's like pretty popular right now, where it's like really distorted people and like naive looking drawing and stuff. Because I feel like in the illustration world, they have it easier to be able to do conceptual illustration with that, because I find if you're drawing too figuratively, you can't. I find I get a lot of like, either I have to be humorous or like literal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always a bit. I'm not a real conceptual person, like when it comes to illustration, which again I've become okay with. I like, you don't need. Not everyone needs that. We don't need to all be Craig Frasers or whoever. That's a.
Yeah.
I'm just showing my age, but you know what I mean. Like, we don't
No,
have to be that.
I think that's a healthy way to think about it. Because I think artists put a lot of pressure on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's very competitive, and for those of us that are still making it as an illustrator, we're a rare breed.
I'm grateful. Every day.
Me too. Yeah. And but you always want to. I mean, I'm never satisfied with what I do or where I'm at. Like, I know there's room to get to be better, to grow, to push myself.
Yeah.
Do you speaking of the sketching and everything, do you do a lot of your drawings and sketchbooks from life? Like, do you like sit around and play, like ride the train, or just
no?
You just make.
I don't even leave really the house. No, I do. I bring it. It's funny. I bring it around with the intention of doing that, and then there's the odd time I get super inspired, and I'll like go to a coffee shop. This is pre-pandemic. I go to a coffee shop. There was a fun exercise I did. There's this one intersection in the city I live in, and for people that live here know it really well. There's a mall right across the street. It's right downtown Hamilton, and it's the corner of King and James. And there's quite a lot of characters that you'll see there, and it's really busy. People walking.
Is that area that looks kind of like they're trying to make it look like Times Square a little bit?
No, not really. No, it's kind of really. Oh, you're thinking of Toronto. That's Toronto.
Oh, Toronto.
Yeah,
okay.
That's Yonge and Dundas. No, the city I'm in. Is
okay.
We're like the Pittsburgh of Ontario.
Okay, I see.
It's the Steel City. But yeah. So, anyways, it's just like a lot of rough around the edges people, and it's an interesting. Anyways, so I just sometimes I'll draw people while they're standing at the light ready to walk. And I just I had a whole bunch of pages of just like quickly getting as much information down as I could. And so that's sometimes fun. I do that once in a while, but I don't do it as much. It's a lot of stuff out of my head. Or if I just had like oh my God, that'd be a funny image to draw, and I'll try and draw that. Or I'll just sit and watch TV and just draw heads, draw people.
Yeah.
Like just draw heads and whatever.
It's good practice. Excuse me. I used to, I don't have as much time as I used to, but I used to ride the train a lot in Chicago. Sometimes I would just ride the train just to sketch. Like, I just hop on the subway and just ride up around Chicago and, sit at Starbucks or something like that, or some coffee cafe somewhere and just doodle people. But it's hard now because any free time I have,
yeah.
I have 4 daughters now, so I've been busy.
Yeah, I've been busy.
So,
congrats on the newest one.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. She's 2 months already. It's crazy.
Oh, that flies by.
Yeah, it's really crazy. But I definitely would do, just make things up and whatever. But I tend to love seeing and observing people, like their postures and try to put that down really quick. Yeah. And that's one thing that's freeing about sketches and sketchbooks is that, once you get that mindset, like what you're talking about, where you don't, like, this doesn't have to be perfect. Like, this is a place for me to just figure things out. And you don't have, like, if someone's got a bent over posture, you don't have to sit there and, they might move in 2 seconds. So put it down as quick as you can.
Yeah, you
start to get like that real, like, kind of that energy and that movement, which unfortunately tends to get lost in like my kind of final illustration. I try really hard to push those things, but it's like nothing really gets that feeling of sketching and drawing. But nice transition here. You seem to get that in your final work. And so when you do like an illustration for, like, let's say whatever it is, like you got like some of your illustrations, you got tons of characters and there's like a story going on and there's a lot of different things happening. You don't do a lot of reference, searching for reference or pose anybody or yourself, or like, how does that work for you?
Sometimes usually I try not to ever use reference for anything, but like if it's like
interesting,
if I'm struggling with like a pose, like how is that leg supposed to be, like, and then I'll go and I'll, like, you know, sometimes if even if it's something as simple as like I don't know, a woman sitting on a couch with holding a phone or something, like if I'm just not getting it right and it's not feeling even correct in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'll go look for a reference somewhere. And I try not to, because what I find and it has happened before, is that I've been too influenced by the reference and like almost made my drawing want to be like, almost like if you took the reference, like, you know, shouldn't be saying this too much, but like you'd be like, oh yeah, that's where you got that from. That makes sense, you know. But I try my hardest not to do that, and then I just try to make it be like a slight, like, you know, like, okay, that's how someone sits, then ignore it, you know, and do my own thing. And then I just go off feeling too. I just try and draw people and, like, you know, yeah, that makes sense that their hand might look like that. But funny enough, I like a lot of comic book artists. I follow a lot of comic book artists on Instagram, because I just feel like they're not all amazing at anatomy. I mean, but they're all really good at drawing. The ones I follow, anyways, they're really good at drawing, and just like they draw people all the time in a lot of different poses. And you know, it's especially like especially hands and feet. Like, it's so easy to get away with, like, you know, just hide the feet behind something. Like there's this one, I saw an artist once, and it was like he had so many pictures of people like in water or something. I'm like, clearly he isn't good at feet or confident in drawing feet.
Dude, that's the hardest, man. Like I always tell people, like, if you can do the best likeness or whatever, or face or whatever, and shoulders and torso and everything, but as soon as you start drawing those hands and they're wrong, the whole thing sucks.
Yep.
I mean, the hands have to be right, feet. Yeah. They're really, it's hard too, like perspective changes. So like when you're doing, like, for example, like some of your images where you've got a few where you kind of do, there's like a perspective that's going up from the ground up, and it's really nice how you will stretch things. It's like exaggerating that perspective, and you're just kind of free thinking on that, like just kind of like, because like for me, I would like have to like take some photo references and do a bunch of loose sketches and try. I mean, it's not this, it's, you know.
Well, that's where I think if you were to actually, you know, it's like they say, like, if that thing came to life, how it'd be like, that would look like the weirdest person walking, because it would, like, their anatomy would be so jacked.
Be like something, you know, from Willy Wonka or something.
Yeah, kind of, because it's like it's clearly incorrect. Like, their shoulder's not quite in the right spot. But I guess I just try to make it believable, at least somewhat believable.
Well, the other thing that helps too is you're not taking your person and putting it in some other world. Everything that you're doing fits your world.
Yeah, like, exactly.
So like it all works together, you know.
Yeah.
So when you get, so do you get like the crazy deadlines where you get like a day or two? Because that's usually typically what mine end up being. But so when you're doing something like that, do you spend a lot of time in the sketch phase? And like, I'm just trying to think about how you prepare for these images, because a lot of them are, there's so much going on. Like, are you adding little things as you're working on it? Like, oh, let's put a cat here. Let's do, you know, like,
sometimes, yeah. Like, sometimes I'll put like a little creature here, or I'll just add more detail than, like, sometimes, you know, I sometimes am very shocked with what I get away with in terms of when I send my sketches in. Like, I'll see people that send their sketches in and they're so tight. Yeah. And they're so like, well, like, mine are just so rough. That's why I always have like a paragraph of an explanation. That's actually bit me in the ass before.
Yeah.
But I remember I did an illustration. Fit did the final. They approved the sketch. Did a final, and it wasn't quite like what they thought. And I can't get mad at that because when I look back at the sketch, I get it. Like it's pretty vague. So they asked me to change it. I happily did. I'm not ever precious about that stuff or my work usually. That's another thing with how I get my style too, I guess, is I don't know how to say it, but I don't care. Like that's not how I can describe it. It's like I don't like.
Well,
I'm
nice.
grateful I get the job and I'm grateful for my work, but like I go back to that thing my teacher said, and also I apply that to my work. But I also I don't know how long ago, but I watched that video. If you Google Al Hirschfeld drawing Paul Newman, and it just dawned on me he was 99 years old. He died at I think he's 99. He died in 2003 or something like that. And so he was 99 years old when he's drawing, and his line work is tighter than mine. At 99, he could still draw like amazing.
Yeah.
And I know he probably wasn't getting paid gigs at that age, or like, he's probably drawing for fun. But what it just thought about was just like, I'm now 43. I just turned 43, and it's like, so that's still another like, with whatever the math is, 50 some odd years away, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so 56 years away, and that's a long time to be. If I'm still going to be drawing, I might not be working that long, of course, but I'll still be drawing. So in my mind, it's like, it's just a drawing. Who cares? Move on to the next one. That's like, I don't care. Like, if you want to make my colors blue and purple in the magazine when you print it, I don't care. Like, I'm not, like, it's just a drawing, man. I'm going to go on and get another job because I'm already on the next job already. Like, thankfully, not, I'm very, very grateful and that I work. And when I get busy, it's like, that's like when your parents say to you, like, what do you do for a living? And they're like, oh, it's so amazing. Oh my God, you worked for that? You work for them?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, you don't sound so thrilled. I'm like, well, it's my job. And it's like,
yeah.
And it's because like I did that job like however many years ago or whatever, and now I'm on to like, however, you know what I mean? I guess that's how I can be.
Well, I mean, it's funny too. Like when we were younger, and we're the same age. I'm gonna be 43. In October. I was like confused which month it was right now.
Yeah.
Next month. But when we were younger getting started in this industry, it's like you're so excited for every single job, and it is a really huge deal at first when you get this and you get that, and you're starting to build up and build up your clients and everything. But you get to a certain point where it's like, like I always tell my agent, like I don't like it when I get an email and it's just like trying to talk me into how awesome it should be to work for this job, but there's nothing in the email that says when it's due and how much I'm getting paid. Like that's the only thing I care about. So I don't care who it is. I don't care if you think it's prestigious.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's prestigious. It doesn't matter if it's the biggest magazine in the world. Yeah. What are they paying me? What do they want me to do? How much time do I have? That's the only information I care about. Yeah. But a lot of times what they're paying, it doesn't come for a while, and it's like, and it's like, so what do you think? You want to do the job? Well, how much are they paying?
Yeah.
Because it's like, I'm just thinking about, okay, if I do this job and this job and this job, rent's paid, and I'm cool, and I can go on and to take on the next job. And so from that end, from that side of things, I kind of, I definitely will look back at a job and think, oh man, I wish I would have done this differently, or
For sure. Yeah.
But are there things like that haunt you, or do you kind of like not care about that either?
I don't care about anything. Life sucks. No, I was kidding. Yeah. No, for sure. And it's funny. I've had definitely lots of those jobs where it's like the big one, and then you're like you finished it and it's done, and you're like, oh, I wish I did a better image on that, or I could have done a better job. I sometimes definitely think of that. But it's funny. I had some like I've had some really good mentors, I guess you could call them, or people that I looked up to, or like even I had a bunch of good teachers at art school that I just really took a lot of the things they said to me like to heart, and absorbed a lot of it, and still use it in my mind today, or still today, or whatever, right? And one of them, or not teacher, mentor, what's his name? A friend of mine, Dan Page, the illustrator. And we were talking about getting work and all this kind of stuff. And this is kind of when I was starting out, sort of when I was starting out. And I remember he reminded me that this is where it comes to, like, when you talk about our field being so competitive, which is crazy. What I've always found crazy about illustration is that it's super competitive, yet it's super supportive. Like, people are so, oh yeah, you should try this client. You should talk to this guy. You should whatever. Because in contrast, I have a friend who's a fashion photographer, and he's like, fuck no, it's cutthroat. Like in photography, it's like, you know, they wouldn't give out any ideas to some other photographer. And I talked to Dan Page about that, and he's like, yeah, but the part of the reason is because there's jobs for everybody, because like not everyone can do every job. I can never do your job, so what stuff you're doing, you know what I mean? It's not for me. It's they're hiring you because of what you do.
Yeah.
And they hire me because of what I do. They're going to hire someone else because of what they do, right? And then so that was like almost nice to hear. But he also said, and I think this is part of the problem of kids, I guess I feel old now, I call people kids, but young people when they come out of art school, is they're so single-minded, not all of them of course, but some of them so single-minded on getting that big gig or getting that big job. And Dan, pointed out to me that, like, he reminded me that, the little like dog and cat magazine is what you want to get, because like they're going to be your bread and butter, because they'll call you back and they'll keep calling you back and they'll keep employing you. And same with this other little, like, whatever, high chair magazine, whatever little small thing. Like, of course we all would love to do something for Rolling Stone. Mm-hmm. But like they hire so many people. Same with the New York Times. Like they hire so many different people. They don't pay that well either. But but they hire so many different people that they're gonna keep going on. And it's like you might work with them, once in your career. Like he even said at the time he'd been 17 years in the business and he just got his first job with Rolling Stone. And it was like and it was gonna be like a little spot. And so it's like, you don't focus on those. Focus on getting just like, and then just doing good work, and people will always call you back.
Yeah, it's totally true. Like the big clients might use you once a year, maybe twice a year if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And then it's all like these smaller little things. Yeah. I mean, the way I look at it too is like every single job that I do, I try no matter what to do the best possible piece that I can do. And I look at it like a mini billboard,
For sure.
It's, or like an ad, if you think about your work as advertisement. There's definitely some clients out there, like you said, that are bigger clients that don't pay very well. And so it's like, it basically balances things out a little bit. You're like, if I decide to take this job on, maybe a lot more people will see my work.
Yeah.
But
I've had jobs that pay like crap, but they've been the best, most fun job.
Oh, yeah.
I've had jobs that are like paid really good, and you're like, it was just a nightmare to work with the team, Thankfully it was a decent paycheck, but like, it's like it was, and I wasn't even thrilled with the image, and it was like, well, okay, whatever, it's a paycheck, you know, because that comes down to where I don't care either. I'm not precious about things. I'm like if a client says like, we want you to do this, this, and this, like we want to do some women on a ladder, I'm not like, oh, but I have better ideas, whatever. I'm like, fuck it. I'm super busy right now. That cuts out a lot of the half the work I have to do.
Yeah.
But my going back to what you said, like I agree that like my goal then, and I've told this to students, is if you want me to do, a guy sitting on a turtle, that's what your concept you came up with. Well, then my job is to make the coolest version of that I can.
Exactly.
And make it look super cool. Because I think what's frustrating when I hear about or I read so many people that complain about this client or that, and I'm like, but it's like you forget that you said yes. You said yes to the job.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of on you. Like,
Yeah.
could have said no. And it's like this thing where, I don't know. It's just like, just do your job. Like, it's a partnership. It's not, you're not the only, like, yes, they hired you, but like, you're working with them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's not.
Exactly. And that's the thing too, is sometimes as an illustrator, it's hard to put your pride on the side because, you know, I'm doing a Jason Seiler piece but you guys hired me to do this, but then you're telling me how to do every single aspect of it. And it's like, well, you're helping make their product look good.
Yeah.
And it's not really about you, it's about their product.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes it takes illustrators or younger illustrators a little bit to get that. Because I've definitely had to deal with that and not care so much, you know, like be like, you know what, I'm just going to do it there. You know, and the worst is when you're working with a client when there's like 8 art directors and and like nobody can agree on anything, and it's just like, what is happening? But you know, the thing that I've learned is, you know, to try to not be too emotional about it. And you know, I've definitely had my ups and downs, and I've had a lot of experiences where I've learned from my mistakes in this industry, in this business. And for me, it's more now like, hey, it's okay, I'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. You know, when I get off the phone, I might be like, oh, this is so crazy, but I never act that way to them. There's been times, I've made some huge mistakes before. I'll tell you one funny thing that happened once. Wasn't really funny to anybody, but looking back at it, it's funny. But I got hired to do this advertisement piece, and it was really stressful. They were paying really, really well, and I was very excited about that. But they wanted this very realistic looking, so picture a hand holding a can like this way, but the can is a real looking tiger, but it's like the size of a can. But they want the tiger to look super, super real. So of course I have to try to figure out how to make the anatomy look right. And all that. It was a crazy hard job. And then there's like a nightclub scene in the background, all this kind of stuff. The entire time I'm working on it, they keep saying how it's not photorealistic enough. And I keep telling them, I'm a painter. I'm painting, and I'm going to paint it as real as I can, but it's still going to look like a painting, you know. They're like, oh, that's fine. We like your work. But the more they kept saying things, they said, you know, it just needs to look more. It doesn't look as realistic as a real alive tiger. And I'm like, you know, I'm doing everything I can, but like, I don't have a real tiger here. And like, I'm, you know, and so it was like this thing. And then I was back and forth with my agent about it. Like, I have a bad feeling about this. I think that they're not really happy with what I'm doing, and they don't really want a painter. They want a photo manipulator or something. And then it was like this back and forth, like, no, we do want you to do this, blah, blah. And I just never felt good about it. And then at the very end, they canned me. And it went from getting this large sum that I really needed and was really looking forward to like a cancel fee or whatever that was like nothing, you know?
Kill fee, yeah.
So a kill fee, and it was just like nothing. And I was so angry and pissed off.
Sure,
so I wrote my agent like this long thing, just like, you know, these fucking pieces of, you know, just like crazy.
Yeah, WTF, yeah.
But accidentally sending it to the art director. So he definitely heard what, and then of course I had that phone call like, what did you do? And I'm like, so it was one of those things I replied, and it replied to all instead of it was, you know what I mean? It was a mistake, a huge mistake. Yeah. And I was just like, oh, and I was like, you know what? Burn that bridge with that, but I never want to work with them again anyway. But still, it's one of those things where I've learned from that, like, first of all, it should have cooled off a little bit, and then should have paid more attention to who I was replying to.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow. Yeah, I mean, We all have those mistakes, not those ones, but we've like
You're like, I've never fucked up that bad, Jason.
well, yeah, I burned a bridge pretty good, but you know what's funny is it leads into this story of like um, another thing I like to encourage. I find hopefully encourages people is just or what I tell students or whatever kids or whatever just do your work and just keep doing it and continue doing it. Like just work hard and don't fret about if you're going to get a call from so and so or from so and so. Just keep working and because you never know who's going to call you for what. And it was it's this like teacher of mine. I don't know if you ever knew his work, but his name was Rick Seelock. And if you ever had a chance to meet him, he looks like his work. Like he just, when you see his work, it's pretty crazy. And he's kind of like that. And he was awesome. The best teacher. I'm going on a bit of a tangent here. Sorry. No, that's fine. He, I remember the first day of class, I had him in my last year of school, our final year or whatever. And he comes into class and he goes, okay, just so you guys know, your goal is to, suck less than the person next to you at the end of the year.
That's
and then he'd say, he said, who wants to show me their sketchbook? So I was like, sure, I'll show you. So I just started a new one. And, you know, at the time, which is funny because now I usually just use like a black pen to draw with. But at the time I didn't have much color. It was just like a few pages and he's going through and he goes to me immediately. He goes, what are you afraid of color? And I was like, ugh. So he's like one of those teachers that just says what he means. And so some people are really turned off by that, but I found it super helpful and I grew so much because of him.
Yeah.
But I was just like, no. And so then I just thought about it and I started using more color and it was actually really helpful. And then he showed me one day he comes over to my table and I had like, my spread was open. I had like a dog sitting here or something, like a person here or something like that. And he takes my pen and he draws across my page. And he goes, see, now why can't they be in the same picture? Like, why are you doing two different pictures kind of thing? You know what I mean? Why can't they be in the same picture? And I was like, oh, shit, I never thought about that either. Like, right? He's just making you think. It was awesome. But anyways, he gave us this really, that was a tangent. He gave us this really good story about determination. And he said, he told us a story how he was trying to get a job or just sending promos to, I think it was Texas Monthly magazine. And he's like, you know, sent him a promo, didn't hear back, sent him another one, didn't hear back, sent him another one. And they finally send him a message back or something. And I think this is before, like, you know, maybe he got an email maybe. And it was something like, you know, thank you, got your promo, you know, think about it or whatever. Then he sent another one. And they said, okay, we got your promo, but, you know, we like your work, but it's just not suited for our magazine. We probably won't use you ever, or we probably won't use you. And then he sent another one saying like ever, something like that. Well, you would never. And they sent another one. They said, we will never use you. Please stop sending one back. And then he sent another one saying, how long is never? And they really got frustrated with him. Long story short, the art director got fired. They hired a new person who loved his work, and he got hired. So he ended up working with him, right? That's so hilarious. cut into this incident I had. I worked with there's a Report on Business, which is kind of like a business magazine that's kind of inserted into, I think it's the Globe and Mail magazine or a Globe and Mail newspaper here, and it's like one of our national newspapers. So it's like a little, I don't know if it's a weekly magazine or a monthly magazine they put in slip it inside in the paper or whatever. I think that's how it works. Anyways, so I was doing a job for them, and I don't know what was going on with my life I don't know if I was just legit like procrastinating. Maybe I didn't want to do the job. I don't know. Long story short, I put it off till like I was literally doing the day of the deadline, and I was rushing it and I was just phoning it in like crazy. Sent them that. They were pissed because it's like, this isn't the quality we signed up for. Yada, yada, yada. When can you get this to me? And like, this should be due now. And then obviously my agent got involved and she was sort of annoyed because it looks bad on her. And I didn't blame anybody, right? Like I was the only one to blame. And long story short, he was just pissed and he's like, now I got to go he just killed the job on the spot. He had to go, now I have to last minute go get photography or something. And I was like, oh shit, guess I'm never working with them ever again, and didn't work with them. And then like I don't know how many years later go by, and then they hire me again. And like 2 years ago, I did 6 jobs for them in 1 year or whatever. So it's like, sometimes you never know when it's gonna. You just try not. That was a big lesson I learned. Just hand things in on time.
Oh yeah.
Don't put it off, and it's not worth it.
Yeah, I did one of my first jobs that I ever did for Time magazine. So they called me, and I couldn't believe I was on the phone with Time magazine.
Yeah.
And already in my mind, I'm like, I'm doing the job. Yeah. Like I don't care what it is, I'm doing the job. Yeah. And so they're trying to explain to me, what they want, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm listening. And basically, I think it was 5 or 7 likenesses, and they wanted them painted, caricatured, but they wanted them very realistic, painted, like. So it was for the Time 100, and CF Payne had done it the year before, and he was like someone that I was trying to, like be like CF Payne, and I couldn't believe that they asked me to do it, and so I'm like, I'm doing this, and it was one of those things where I remember just killing myself to get this thing done on time, and I was gonna not sleep for days if that's what it took, but I'm gonna get this done.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be the best, highest quality piece that I could do. Mm-hmm. But I had never painted that many people with that much detail in that amount of time. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking to myself, and I'm never gonna know if my wings work if I don't jump off a cliff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Like I've got these wings. But let's prove that I can fly. I remember just like having this thought, like suffer for a few days. I remember like literally just I had a couple granola bars and just not moving or leaving unless I had to go to the bathroom. And I'd be like painting and just like open a wrapper and just like while I'm painting, like just like non-stopping, like just getting this thing done. And then I was so excited and happy that it was finished. I sent it in. I emailed it to him. And the art director wrote back and he's like, holy cow. He's like, this is really great. And he goes, and wow, this is like literally on time. And I was thinking in my mind, yeah, you said you needed it like Thursday morning.
Yeah.
So I got it to you Thursday morning.
Yeah.
And I killed myself to get it to you Thursday morning. And then he's like, man, most people are like sometimes they're like almost a day late. He's like, and I'm just thinking, wait a minute.
Yeah.
They're that much late? Like, what are you talking about? So, but anyways, he was like, I'll definitely be working with you again. And it was a while before I worked with him again. But it was one of those things where I realized like, wow, I want to always be that. Mm-hmm. I want to always be that person, that artist, that art directors be like, hey man, Seiler, it'll be on time, it'll be high quality, you know what I mean? And so I've worked really hard to always maintain that as much as possible. Yeah. But of course, you've learned, as I've learned from doing this for a while, that when someone says there's a deadline, that's not usually when it's due. So
that's the initial. They have secret deadlines.
Yeah.
They have secret ultimate deadlines. They have deadlines, and they have like final deadlines. Like
there's like some clients where when they say that we need it Thursday afternoon, they need it Thursday afternoon because they're like a weekly and whatever.
Yeah.
But like some clients, like I know I can finish the job on time.
Yeah.
But I also know that if I got 1 or 2 more days, it would be so much better. Yeah. And so I'll just like flat out ask them now, like, hey, listen.
Yeah. I do too.
Is it actually due here? Because I could use a little bit more time to make it a little bit better. And they're usually like, oh yeah, take till next Monday.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a job due tomorrow, and
I'm talking to you.
Yeah. Well, no, but I'm working right now with I've worked with a lot of awesome art directors. Too many to name probably, but this guy, like I was working with him for the first time on this little job, and not little job, it's been a big job, but he's just been unbelievably amazing. Like he full on, like, so it's kind of like a job where like there's also a committee that sort of he's been dealing with. Like, he's the creative director on it, but there's also other people involved. Mm. And so they needed this like brochure kind of cover for tomorrow. And so I whipped up sketches for Monday, and then he got them approved for me. And he said, he goes, and I got you, he said, I got you till, you can have till Monday. He said, I told him, he goes, I know you're not going to do anything with this on Friday night, so just give him till Monday. If he, like, give him an extra few days, you'll get something better. So he kind of like advocates for the artist, which is amazing. Like, I know a lot of art directors will, a lot of the ones I've worked with will do that. They'll advocate for the artist. It's just, some will push harder than others. Some will just be like, well, hands are tied, can't do anything. And some will just flat out be like, I'm going to really push for this and make this happen. And, I've had them push for the certain, I was like, oh, I love that concept. I'm going to really try and get that. Oh, unfortunately we didn't get that. We didn't get the one you wanted. So we have to do this concept. And you're like, whatever. That's where my whatever comes in. Like, whatever. It's a job. Getting a paycheck. It's like,
it's interesting. After doing this for a certain amount of time, you start to learn a little bit. Like, some art directors are just out of art school and they're just kids. And some art directors don't know what they're talking about. Some are amazing. You get a wide range of. You just realize after a while that they're just people trying to do their job too. Yeah. But sometimes it's like, I find it hilarious. I mean, this has happened to me several times where I'm working with an art director, and they love what I'm doing, and they're like, "Oh, this is great. They love this idea and everything." And so you're working on it. They give you the approval. You start working on it, and then they go, "You're almost done," or whatever. Yeah. And then they go, "I just showed this to the editor, and it's not anything what they want at all." Yeah. And you're just like, "Wait a minute, you never showed this to the editor?" Like. So then from that mistake, I've learned from now on to always be like, hey, has the editor seen this? Is everything? So it's like you just learn. You learn like as you go, like the way it works. Because
you find the groove.
Yeah, you got to find the groove. And sometimes art directors have very strange direction, and they don't know how to communicate it to you. Like one time, I think for guitar. No, I think it was Revolver. It was like a metal music magazine or something. The guy calls me and he's like, "Dude, I love your work so much. And I was thinking about like I want to do this image. I think it would be really cool. It's like Axl Rose." And he's like, he describes the whole thing. He's sitting on a chair and he's just like hanging out, just sitting on a chair and everything. But I thought it'd be really cool if you made it look like a Rockwell type painting, And I was like, that is kind of cool. Like Axl Rose in a Rockwell style painting.
Yeah.
And then part of the article was talking about this, I don't know if it was a therapist, I can't remember exactly, but this person that he used to take on the road with him, I think it might've been a therapist, or a psychiatrist or something. But everyone nicknamed this person Yoda, because she was like this little old lady that she said weird things and everyone called her Yoda. So he's like, and I think it'd be funny to have like a little Yoda. Like, and I was like, actual Yoda? He's like, yeah, like Yoda just hanging out. And I'm like, all right. So in my mind, I'm thinking Norman Rockwell type style with Yoda. And I'm like, this will be fun. So I drew it out, and spent a lot of time getting the sketch just right. I got someone to pose for me and for the body pose, and it looked great. And I made it very Rockwell like the style, and even had the circle thing behind it, and I was gonna have some flames kind of back there. And he calls me and he's like, "What is this crap?" He's like, "This is so dorky." He's like, "This is just like." What do you, like, I don't understand what you're doing. Like, I really wanted you to do something cool. Like, this is like, so dumb and like so like vintagey or something. I'm like, you said you wanted it to look like a Norman Rockwell, and I thought that was such a great idea. He's like, no, I mean, like, how Rockwell would, like, how he would draw people. I'm like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I was going for the aesthetic of a Rockwell painting, and So then I ended up scrapping that and basically keeping most of the pose the same and everything, and then just so he's sitting in the chair, and then he was like, just do something badass, like almost like he's in hell. And there's just flames, so like literally there's just flames all around Axl Rose, just like he's in hell, sitting in a chair, and Yoda's just standing there, like
Yoda's still in it.
And I put but Yoda's got like a sweatshirt jacket on,
okay,
and he's just like. It's just I'll have to find that image. I don't know where that image is right now, but yeah, it's just fun things like that. You know, you never know. But you, as an illustrator, you start to learn how to. Yeah. Wait a minute. Do you mean?
Yeah.
Like this?
Do you really mean that? Yeah. Is that your final answer? Because that's. Well, I was lucky when I was in school. I did a placement. In between third and fourth year, we always had to do, or we were the first year to do a co-op, and I did mine with a publishing company in BC. So I drove out there and stayed there for the summer and worked there, and they published magazines. So they did like just outdoor magazines, like fishing ones and this one called Aviator, and I think a couple hunting ones, and. That's where I met my good pal who's a fashion photographer. And anyway, so sorry, I got a little lost in thought there. Oh yeah. So what I was grateful for was because I was working in the art department, I was just doing they'd just get me to lay out ads or stuff like that, like really simple stuff. But then they started, because they knew I was an illustrator or whatever, they didn't pay me, but they'd got me to do my first ever published something, like in a magazine. So that was cool. And then they ended up, after I finished, I was working in my fourth year because they were paying me to do a monthly little column for them, which was pretty cool. But anyway, so I got to see the ins and outs from behind the scenes. So I'd see how crazy busy the art directors were when they're calling people, and how crazy busy the creative director was. And so now that helped me all through my career when I finished art school, because immediately I started sending out emails to art directors, and I just was full of piss and vinegar when I left art school. I was like, "Hi, my name is Michael Byers. I'm an illustrator from Canada," and then I put in brackets a pretty good one at that. And then just I was full of it. And I was like, "Really love what you do over there." So generic, like boilerplate, email. I sent out 100 or so the first 2 days after school, and I got a bunch of replies, and I got one job out of it. I was like, "Oh, cool," and. But when I sent them out, I was never concerned with if someone was calling me back. I was just like, it's in the universe. If it's meant to be, they'll call me back. Just keep going forward, because I knew that from being behind the scenes that they're busy. They're just really busy. Mm-hmm. They just don't have time to sit there and answer every single email. So that's why even today I tell people to send promos, physical ones still, but also email promos. Because you're going to get art directors that hate email promos. They just press delete. But then you're going to get ones that say, I love email because then I can just open it up quick and look at your work. And then vice versa. You're going to get people that hate, getting physical stuff. They're like, recycle. And then there's people that are like, oh, I love it. I'm going to put it on my wall if it's one I like, So you never know who you're going to get. Just send it out.
Yeah.
And what I love about that is that, my whole thing is just, I've always tell people and I've always tried to do this my best. I try to be on time with deadlines still. But I love, you just don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to ask. Like you said, just you know what?
Communicate.
I genuinely, and they understand, a lot of them understand. Because I remember when you're in art school, they try to scare the crap out of you. It's going to be worse out there. And I was like, it's actually easier in the real world, because art directors aren't actually, some of them are dicks or whatever, but every art director I've worked with has been pleasant and great. They've been really, and I don't know if it's because of me, how I'm, the energy I'm putting forth, but
they're like that Michael Byers. He's just goddamn adorable.
Yeah. Well, I just tell people, don't be a dick. Just don't be a dick. Like you said, when you hang up, or after you're done reading the email, go vent to your friend or roommate or whatever. Oh, motherfucker, stupid. But when you're on the phone, yep, no problem. When you send the email, yep, no problem. Yeah. I'll get that changed to you, no problem. And then they're gonna go, we love working with this guy. Let's hire him again. And that's how you more and more work.
For sure.
Stay in business, and just keep doing that. Because I've also had art directors I worked with, and then they went off and they did, whatever. They were like, oh, sorry, I'm leaving this job. I don't know where I'm going to be. I remember one recently, or as recent as last year. I hadn't worked with her for 6 years maybe, and then she just reached out. Oh, guess what? I'm art directing again. Blah blah blah. I would love to work with you again be my first time back in the saddle or whatever. Like, I'd love to hire you again. And I was like, oh, amazing! Congratulations, you're working again at such and such a place. And even right now, I'm working with the wonderful Corey Kennedy. And I worked with him last when he was way back at Runner's World, and now he's working again. And he's like, "Oh, hey, how's it been?" And I want to, and I'm, if you just, they'll remember.
That's awesome.
You just don't worry about what's happening. And because I also tell people that with art directors is, you're going to outlast them. If you're in this business long enough, you're going to outlast them, because they move around so much, and there's so many.
They do. Yep.
And
it's crazy. It can really suck sometimes when you're, you've done like, a few different covers or spots or whatever it is for a particular magazine, and the art director loves you and you love working with them, and all of a sudden they leave, and then the magazine doesn't know who you are anymore. And, you know what I mean? Like that's happened before.
That's another point, though, to us people like ourselves, or people even like that have been around longer than us even, is that you have to act always like you're a new illustrator, and never just realize, because you are to them, because they're going to hire the people they know, that when they come out of art school, they know a certain cohort of people, and so they don't know you from Adam. So it's to your advantage in one way, because it's like, oh, I've never seen your work before, so it's still fresh to them. But at the same time, it's like that you got to remember that people don't know you, so you got to keep promoting, and because I think people get lazy.
It's hard. I mean, when I was first trying to get my stuff noticed, I was sending out postcards. Like I would, and looking back now, I think about some of the postcards I sent probably weren't the best images,
Yeah.
But I didn't know, I was just trying to do whatever. But I remember I would send out postcards and never got anything. I actually only got one job, I think, from a postcard, and it was like, I think Muscle Magazine or something like that. I ended up doing a painting of Arnold Schwarzenegger for them. But I was getting so frustrated because I wasn't getting anything. And so the first time I went to New York to make appointments and to meet art directors, I went around. I went to New York and I set up meetings, and I think it was 2 or 3 of the magazines I went to, I was there when postcards arrived, and they were like this.
Yeah.
Threw them in the trash.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing that, being like, what?
Yeah.
Like I couldn't believe it. I think one of them was the Village Voice. I was in the Village Voice. And by the way, every single place I went to hired me for something. So it was a very successful trip.
Sure.
And I got the feeling that, like, hey, but going in person was the move, because I have my work with me, and I know how to talk about my work.
Yeah.
And I can be confident, and I can whatever. So going in person, showing them my work and talking to them, I got hired by almost basically everybody. But when I saw them toss the postcards, I remember just thinking, oh my gosh, like, that's crazy, because they didn't like. I think the other one was Mad Magazine. I was in Mad Magazine's office, and a stack of postcards and promo stuff, and they just pushed it off the shelf, and I'm just like, no.
Yeah.
So some art directors don't like it. Some,
Well, I was at an. I mean, people are listening. Some people listening to this will know exactly the story I'm telling. But I was at a Icon. My first Icon conference was in the one in Providence, and there was a workshop, and I didn't go to it, but I heard about it. It was like a promo workshop, a workshop for promoting and stuff. And the one art director that was running it, I won't name names, but this person is known for being ruthless with that kind of stuff. So they're full on. This person was like, okay, whoever wants to put their promo in the box, and she dumps the box out on the table. and literally goes through, nope, 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 yep, nope, nope. Like it was just showing what would be go in the trash and what would be kept and whatever. But the funny thing is that someone in that group, whatever, got hired for a job. Like, this art director hired one of those people in the workshop for a job. So they're not like completely ruthless, but like they're like just straight up, it's such a crapshoot, I find, because like I feel like I've entered contests too, and I remember it's like half the time the images that I think are gonna just kill and crush or just like don't get in, and then like the one I've gotten some in that like I'm like, really, that one? That's the one you picked for this? But then it makes me feel like I don't even do my own work.
Yeah, it's very strange. I remember one year for Society of Illustrators, I got a few of my pieces in, so I was excited about that. And then one of the judges came up to me during the show, and he's a friend of mine. And it was kind of weird that I don't know if he thought this would make me feel better or feel good, but he takes me aside. He goes, "Hey man, it was a portrait that I painted of Rick Ross for Rolling Stone, and I was really proud of that painting because I only had one day to do it."
Oh, I remember that one. That was awesome.
And it turned out really well, and I was like, I did that in a day, man. So I was like, this is awesome that it got into the show. And he takes me aside. He goes, "Hey man, I just wanted to let you know that, I stood up for you, man. I stood up for you." And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he goes, well, we got in a huge argument, and basically you were up for the gold medal for it, and I have not won any medals.
Yeah.
And I've won in Illustrator West. I've gotten a few medals for that, but not in New York. And so I was like, he's telling me, he's like, yeah, you were like this close. Like there's a few, we're like, you almost got it. And he goes, but then we ended up going with this other guy. And I'm like, why are you telling me this? Like, I wish I never knew that. Like now I'm like, now I'm gonna be wondering like what and then I went and I saw the one that won, and I'm like, no, what? Then you know what I mean? Then I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here? That guy drew that with a crayon. You start getting frustrated with yourself, and like, but it's just funny, like, he meant he didn't mean any harm, but all those kind of things, even with that, like entering shows, I mean, I think I entered Society of Illustrators for like 4 or 5 years before I finally got in, and then when I got in, it was great, but when you go to the shows and you're in the shows and you go to the shows and you realize, hey, some of the work here is not so great. I don't know why it's in here. And then other work, and then you find out later, like, you start meeting other artists and you find out that, that they didn't get in the show. And then you see the work they submitted and you're like, whoa, how did you not get in the show? It's just a very subjective. Yeah, exactly. It's a very subjective thing. And the judges are different every year.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a judge this year for Society of Illustrators West. And I'm really excited about it because I'm taking it seriously. Like I want to like really what I consider high quality is the only thing that I'm going to let in. It's not a specific genre. It's just, if this is really good, then that's what I'm going to vote for. So, and the other judges are awesome. It's like Drew Struzan, CF Payne, Mike Mignola. A bunch of like awesome artists. So I think it's going to be a pretty awesome show.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. But like I've had to learn to like, I've had to learn to not take it so personally because, there's definitely a lot of times where I'm just like, what?
Oh, we all do. You're like,
yeah.
Like I've been fortunate enough to be in AI a couple times and be in the Society of Illustrators shows. I've never won a medal either, but it's funny, because it was, I don't know if it was out of money or necessity or just, I honestly just in the last, like I haven't entered a contest actually in the last couple of years now.
I haven't either.
and it's funny because I had FOMO every time. especially when people go to AI parties and all this. And then I was like, I finally felt comfortable with it. The last 2 times, I legit just forgot, and like the deadline passed, but I wasn't kicking myself. I was just like, all right.
Yeah.
But I just realized, because I have so many, like I have 3 or 4 illustrator friends here that are still working full time doing illustration, have had a career for a number of years now, and they've never ever entered any competitions.
Yeah.
Like even Dan Page has never entered a competition, and it's like he's had a illustrious career. He's been still going, and it's like there's lots of people like that have never entered that.
This is not a good advertisement for Society of Illustrators.
Oh, sorry. Well, sorry about that.
No, I'm just joking.
I mean, I just want people to feel like I don't like that pressure that they have to get in and they have to, or they're not going to make it if they don't. 100%. That's the thing, because I know I felt that for a lot of years. I was like, what is it going to take for me to get a medal? Like when I'd see friends getting medals. And I mean, thankfully the friends I know that got medals, a lot of them deserved it because like they're just do amazing work. But I'm like, what the hell am I going to do? Like, I felt like I'm pretty good, but maybe I'm not. Like, maybe I just don't know what to enter. And
your mind starts like messing with you. I mean, people have written me like upset that they didn't get in and stuff. And one thing I tell people is, dude, one of the biggest covers I've ever done or in any of my work was the first piece I ever, or the first cover I did for Time when I painted the Pope for Time. It was a Person of the Year cover. It was seen by billions of people. It was literally, it was the Pope, so it was even more everywhere. And that didn't get into the shows.
Yeah.
Now, if that's not going to get into the shows, then I don't even know what else to say. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
A different piece of mine got in the show, but the most, like, arguably, that was the biggest cover of the year.
Yeah.
And it just was.
Yeah.
And it was a crazy experience for me. And I'm like, I remember thinking, slam dunk, I'm going to get in the show.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Didn't get in there. And I was just like, so, and guess what? I'm not going to name any names or anything, but like, a couple of the other artists that Time hired to paint the Pope, that didn't get chosen, they were in the show.
Oh yeah, I think I know. I think I know some of those.
But I was very confused because I remember going to the show and I'm like, wait a minute,
why
my Pope's not in the show? it was the year of the Popes, but you if you take it super personally, it'll drive you crazy.
Yeah,
and it's like it's a if I get in, I'm happy I got in, and it's more about going to socialize, to hang out with buddies and have a couple drinks and celebrate the fact that we all get to do art,
Yeah. It's funny. That's what I would loved about AI parties. And that's what I enjoyed AI because like I would submit to them again. I enjoy them too because I find it's more it's looser goose. You're not trying so hard to get a medal or just getting in a book. Like then they make a beautiful book every year.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And I think that's and you get a copy. I mean, you usually have to pay for it, but you get a copy.
When is that show, by the way? I forget when you're supposed to.
Usually November. When to submit to it? It's usually like in January, February.
Okay.
Yeah. So they do it pretty early. Yeah, I didn't either. I was like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna do it again this year, and then I was just like, I forgot. Just like went by.
I know. That's what kind of happened to me the last couple of years. Is I got too busy, and I'm like, whatever. And then the other thing too, I've noticed that I've gotten a little bit more picky about things now. Like it's really funny. I mean, I remember one year, I felt really discouraged because I didn't get in to, I think it was Society of Illustrators. I didn't get in, and I handed in. I remember being so like happy and proud of myself for the fact that I was submitting work from the New Yorker, Rolling Stone, Time Magazine, I think the New York Times. It was like 5 pieces from just the biggest clients, and every single one of the pieces, I felt like I just knocked it out of the park. And I was I'm like, this is like a grand slam submission. and not one made it into the show. And I remember just thinking, like,
that's the worst.
Why am I doing this? You know, it was very discouraging. And so
sure,
you have to kind of, you know, you take those situations, and yet it makes you think a little bit, like, do I want to enter more? And if I do, maybe I really need to enter something, maybe just one piece or two that are the best. And
I think,
you know, I don't know. I don't have the answers.
Well, I agree. And I think my perspective is just, I think everybody should just try, like, especially people coming into art school and stuff, they should enter for sure. Yeah. Because it's fun. And I mean, if you have a couple, you know, bucks here and there, however much they cost, but just like, even just do one or two, but try to not hold so much weight like that. You know, like you said, don't take it so seriously. And just if you get in, awesome, that's great. But if you don't, whatever. Like, it's just have fun and even try and go to the party still, if you can, just to network and whatever. But like you said, just don't worry about it so much. Like, don't put so much weight against it. Like, if you don't get in, you're not going to. I just don't like that aspect of it, where it just feels like there's so much pressure that if you don't get in, this means you're not going to make it.
You're not good. You're not
good enough to be in the club or in the, you know, and that's not the case, because like I said, there's enough people that are super amazing doing lots of work that aren't ever been in the club, so to speak, or never tried to be, you know. So
I mean, it's all part of it. And you know, it's really cool. I really enjoy like the range of things that we've been talking about, because it's like not very many artists that are out there trying to make it in illustration or going to art school right now that are going to hear this would ever even probably think about these kind of things until it happens to them. So this is kind of like a nice, like, welcome to the world of illustration. You know,
it's funny because I find that I just realized now, like, because I've had a couple incidences where art directors in the last couple of years have submitted my work on my behalf to things. And then I find out later, like, oh, you were shortlisted for this, or you won. I think I won like a Baltimore Magazine award or something for the spread I did for them. And then I got this one random email one time. I did a bunch of work for a couple of Hawaii magazines. I did one for what was this? Which was the image? I forget what the image was now already. I think it was this one where there's a bunch of cats and birds fighting anyways, one of the islands in Hawaii. And the art director submitted my work. Anyways, long story short is I legit got the second place award. And I legit get a plaque for second place. It says on there, second place. And I'm like, that to me sums up my career, my feeling of my art. It's like, I've always just felt like I'm just here doing my job and getting work. I've never been like first place, like big trophy or anything, right? But it's like it was kind of neat.
You're like, first place in my mind, man.
Oh, thanks.
Hey, we've been chatting for a while here, and I don't want to forget. There's some fan art to show you.
Oh, awesome!
So I think you'll get a kick out of that. So hold on one second. Let me switch this so you can see my screen, and I'll share this with you.
There we go. Yeah. Wow.
Okay.
Oh, that's awesome.
So this first one is by Waleed Shahab.
That's great. Wow, that's cool.
And this one this is by Hosevan Bonfim.
Yeah, I saw he posted that on Facebook. That was cool.
Oh yeah, he was naughty. Oh yeah, this is like, okay, I remember that one. Yeah, he was naughty and sharing it before. Oh,
he got the teeth right.
I like the one, you know, the glass frame. The one is, you know, it just there's something fun about it, like just like coming at you.
Yeah. Oh, neat.
Here's a fun. This is pretty cool. This is by Dominic Zeilinger.
That's fun.
It's cool how he did the beard.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool style. I like every single time he sends in his stuff. He's very creative with how he chooses to do his color or his line work. It's pretty cool. And he actually submitted some comedy material that we ran out of time when I was with Kevin Nealon last week, But at one point, I've got to play his comedy bit that he sent me, a joke he told to his daughter about a banana. So I'm gonna have to share that. It's pretty funny. This one here is by
that's cool.
Jacques Lamanier, and this is like what's cool about this is he's normally doing stuff that's like more like tighter, graphite cross hatching, and so he wanted to try to emulate your work a little bit. So he was trying to. So this is completely different than what his stuff normally looks like.
Oh wow.
Jacques Lamanier.
I wish I had a beard like that. My wife wouldn't let me grow in that much.
Yeah, I actually I was kind of growing my mustache out a little bit, and my 3-year-old, she keeps saying it's scratchy, and she likes to play with it though. She'll like flick it with her finger, and then she goes, shave it off.
Oh, that's funny. It's funny you say that because I've been debating shaving my beard just to see what it's like, just for a change. Because I'm like, hey, it'll grow back.
Yeah.
And my daughter doesn't want me to. She says she likes playing with it. She's 3.5.
Yeah, I told him like, I was like, you like my mustache, or do you want me to shave it off? She's like, shave it off. So I shaved it today. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. This one here is by Mr. Ponce.
I feel like he's really got the eyes and stuff. Like I really feel like I see myself in that one. Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it's nice. Got that huge neck.
Yeah. They make me look like a cooler lumberjack than I am. That's awesome.
No, this is by Ryan Biddle.
Oh, weird. That almost like he's got the eyes too there, but it's not that far apart. But like the expression of them.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It's cool seeing all these different versions. Different people's perspectives.
I'm grateful he gave me more hair than I actually have up top.
This is by Lars Eric Robinson, and this is pretty cool because so Lars he usually does digital work. He submits quite a bit, and he's been doing a lot of like iPad work lately. So this one he did, I think he said acrylic and color pencils.
Wow,
so it's kind of cool that he went traditional with this one.
Wow, that's super rad.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, super cool.
And I'm trying to think is like the background stuff, is that from some of your art? Or is it, I'm trying to think if that's some kind of image that you did. I'm trying to figure out.
A lot of mushrooms. I don't really do a lot of mushrooms.
I don't know. I'll have to ask him what he was doing there, but
interesting. But that's cool.
Huh. And this is the last one. This is by Ramajit Kaur Gabri.
That's hilarious.
I believe from India, if I'm correct.
That's so funny. As if I was a big giant football player for college or something. Hey, we're going to the pub. Yeah. That's super cool. That's neat that they do that your fans do that.
Thanks everybody for sending the artwork. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, thank you for taking the time to chat and talk art and
my pleasure, man.
Stuff. It's been a lot of fun, man. Before we go, is there anything, I mean, I know this is like a really weird time, and a lot of us, we're normally stuck in our houses anyways.
Yeah.
But is there anything that you got coming up, or anything that you want to like promote or let people know? Your Instagram is just Michael Byers, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Not really that I can think of. I'm not releasing anything. No. I mean, if you're going to Maine College of Art this fall, I did a bunch of stuff for them that they'll see all around campus, a poster and some stuff that's going to be on their website and stuff like that. So that was kind of cool. That's about all that's really going on. Not really. I just plugging away like everybody else, trying to.
And you're just like, I don't care.
Yeah. Right. Well, I shouldn't say that because I keep saying all these things. I'm just my own worst enemy. Like I have a laundry list of stuff personal projects I want to do, or personal things. Oh, I guess I could promote. They could go on Instagram too. It's all one word. The Illustrated Family. I've been trying to do like these family portraits for people. Where I just kind of do like my style of drawing people. And then what I've been doing is it started with friends of mine asked me to do a wedding invite for them. And they said, such and such likes soccer a lot and DJing, and she likes photography and this and that, and their boy is into this or whatever, and they love their dog and whatever. And so I just tried to do like where I just put a lot of detail into things, and I just did them kind of posed in like standing in a family, so full body, kind of standing in a family pose, and she's got her camera and like he's got all this, so they got all their stuff that's them kind of thing, right? And then I had another friend see that, and they wanted me to do one for them at wedding invite, and I'm like, okay, cool, fine. And then someone saw those and wanted to do a family portrait, or they just asked if I do commissions, and they said we want to do a family portrait. I'm pregnant, and then I have a daughter, and so I was like, sure, why not? And then I did that same kind of concept, and they're like, oh, this is rad. So then someone else saw that one, their friend, and asked me to do their family for. Same thing. So I've been doing a few like that, and a couple like individual, like just one person for a friend. Like someone was, oh, I want you to do this for my friend. And she's super into this. So I just had her and she loves Tank Girl. So I had her kind of like sitting on a whole pile of all her stuff that's her. So then I just thought, hey, that could be kind of fun to just do family portraits like that. So I just decided to make a small little account like that for those things that I put out, and I just did a one for this girl that I know, and so yeah, so it's fun. It's not like I guess a side hustle.
Yeah.
So if people want to check that out or whatever, they can check that out. And but yeah, other than that, that's about it. Otherwise, just plugging away and trying to, hopefully, get the big deals. I'd love to do a kid's book if anybody out there wants to get me to do a kid's book with them.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
I'd love to do one of those.
That's really cool.
And I'd also love to try and animate. I've been still trying to figure that out. I'd love to try.
I think you'd be great. I think your stuff fits perfect for that.
Yeah.
Like I said, a lot of your stuff feels like animated already. Like even though it's, you got a lot of movement happening, a nice flow with your work. So that could be awesome.
If you ever go to I haven't been to it yet. I don't know when they're going live with it, but to the main College of Arts website, a bunch of the stuff will be animated on that. And it was an awesome, fun little project. So I did all the drawings, but I worked with, they had two students from their animation program, and they were doing it as like their free summer intern or whatever, their summer project, or they're getting credit for it. And so they're the ones that took my drawings and animated them. And I was so impressed with how a couple of the things that they had me save, for example, there's like these flags going like this or something, like bunting. And I originally did that in the original flat illustration for the poster. So for the web, they wanted me to animate it. So the one girl that was one of the students, she did all the rough, like, this frame needs to be like this frame needs to be like this. So then she sends those to me, and I just quickly draw them in my hand drawing and color them the way I colored those other flags, and send that back to her, and then they do everything else. And so yeah, it was really neat how they did it. It was like, and even a couple of things I didn't even do, like they would somehow know how to take even that flat image, and they were just able. The one guy had the same brushes I used from Kyle's brushes.
Yeah.
And he figured out he just drew it to try and match my line work or whatever. And I was like, they're like, are you okay with that? I'm like, fuck yeah, I don't care. Like, that's awesome. Funny. If you're making it look rad, sure. Knock your socks off.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome when I did that cover of Pelosi and Trump for Time Magazine. It was like a caricature cover, and they had someone take the art and animate it, and it was so cool. It was like this is awesome.
Yeah.
I don't even know how they did that. Like they had him like Trump like taking a slingshot and actually shooting tweets at Nancy Pelosi. And he's like, pew! And it was so cool, and it was like it was just so funny, and like it hits her in the head, and her head goes like that, and it's like. I was like, man, that's way cooler than my painting. Like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's that. So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff I want to do, and I'm open to doing, and I'd love to do. But for now, I'm just gonna finish doing what I'm doing and keep going.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, man. I really appreciate you taking the time. It's been a blast hanging out and talking with you.
Yeah.
And everybody, go out there, check out his Instagram and his website. He's got tons of awesome art. His website's really cool. He's got it split into all different categories. That's fun to look through them. And check out the sketches. I love the sketches. That's like my favorite to look at. So thanks again. And this has been another episode of Face the Truth. Thanks for hanging out. If you haven't already done it,
smash the like button.
Smash it. All right. Thanks a lot. And we'll see y'all soon.
You want answers? Find the truth shall set you free. I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.